Yo, Holster, give me one quick second to clear something up. I forgot to change it to March in the title, and it put that up on the actual Discord itself, so I'm just correcting that. Give me one quick second so that it can properly tag people to the right video. I don't know why it's still reading out month of February when it's supposed to be March. It's March. It's weird. It's supposed to be March. But let's go ahead and get started, everyone. We have 3 chapters. Well, actually, it's better if you guys see my face. So, yo peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another one of my One Piece reflections, where at the end of each month, I go over the chapters of One Piece that we get every single month. We got 3 chapters in the month of March. Chapters 1109, 1110, and then 1111. All of them massively monumental due to the events that are going on Egghead right now. So let's go ahead and get started with chapter 1109. And it's probably going to put me at the page where I was last looking at it. There it is. Interception. So, this chapter, it had the message of Vegapunk being broadcast all over. And Vegapunk is going like, you can't well, Shaka is going, come on, Stella, you can't just start this up out of nowhere. What do you mean? Surely the audience will need to be adequately prepared to hear it. You really think that's necessary? Some intelligence agency will pick it up and it'll spread across the world by the next day. Are you certain about that? What if they manipulate the information? Good point. So what do? I'll relay the signal through every naval base in the world. And here's the thing. All this information is being broadcast in this chapter. It's being broadcast to everyone. You know what? I'm going to look at this chapter while it's here, but I also want to have chat up so I can see what you guys are saying. There we go, so that way I can hear you guys just fine. I'm getting these AFK journey ads. Stop it. I don't care. Alright, there we go. But what this is doing is, this message is being broadcast not only through all of Egghead, but through every naval signal that is across the entire world. And they're trying to turn it off, but they can't. It's forcing, the signals being forced through at maximum output. So no one is able to turn this signal off. So everyone's about to learn this information. Even Luffy can hear this, because remember, this was the chapter where he was holding on to the face of Jay Garcia and also holding on to Kizaru. And Vegapunk continues going, the transponder snails can receive audio signals, but the visual transponder snails will take time in order to be set up for viewing. I suggest giving them an interval of 1 hour. And we have Jay Garcia, who's starting to sweat bullets here, thinking to himself, what are you going to tell the world, Vegapunk? Because we all know the big thing that Jay Garcia is scared. They're all scared of, all of the Gorosei are scared of the entire world knowing, which is information about the Void Century. Pretty much any information about the Void Century. Vegapunk knows it, and this message is going to be broadcast to everyone across the entire world. Now, Usopp's hearing it, Nami and company are hearing it all, and it starts to show the giants who are contending with all the naval soldiers. The naval soldiers are really not able to do anything to these giants because, I mean, these giants are just shrugging off everything, laughing it off. And the original time for the message to be broadcast was originally going to be an hour, but then it's been shortened up just in case there are people who want to make sure that the message isn't heard at all. This makes it, they shorten up the time to just 10 minutes. Just in case someone thinks of, oh, we need to interfere with this message so it doesn't get out properly. And while that's going on, it says, 10 minutes, you hear that, world? And of course, this is shocking. This is shocking to Jay Garcia, and it cuts all the way back to Sacred Marijois, as we find out that the Gorosei are completely capable of communicating to each other telepathically, which is a brand new substantial power that we've seen. Now, mind you, the first thing that comes to mind where you're able to communicate with a person without actually speaking to them was when Luffy was telling everyone using the voice of all things way back in Wano when he was stuck underwater. and that's how everyone found him when he got one shot, when he got beaten by Kaido again. That's how he communicated to everyone. Now, I'm not saying that the Gorosei themselves have the voice of all things, which allows them to telepathically communicate to each other. This could just be just regular straight up telepathy, since it's such a vast distance. Like, Jay Garcia is all the way in Egghead, where the Gorosei are all the way on the red line, and that is hundreds of miles away from each other. But they're communicating to each other, going, what is that signal? Someone explain this now. And they're telepathically communicating to Jay Garcia, going, Saturn, what happened with Vegapunk? Kizaru killed him. He should be dead now. I think. I saw it. And they're going, so he set up this message to play in the event of his own death. Most likely. And who knows what he might say. If we can find the source of the transmission, I can't imagine it's coming from anywhere but the lava phase on Egghead, and it's protected by that barrier. And the message continues to go as we cut to Dressrosa, as people are hearing this news. Then we cut to Dressrosa, Rebecca, and Leo, and Tank. Kiros is there. They're all listening to this. Then we cut to the Windmill Village on the East Blue, which is Luffy's hometown, and everyone's commenting on it, including Mayor Whoopslap. Then we cut to Water 7, where Iceberg is hearing it, even though it's like early. I wouldn't say it's early in the morning. He's just very, very, Yeah, it's very early, so Iceberg was once asleep, so this is happening on Water 7. Then we cut to the World Economic Journal HQ, which is where Morgans, Wapple, and Vivi are, and they're listening to all of this news. And Vivi goes, does it say where Luffy's crew is going? Look at the clock behind them, fool. That's not the current time on Egghead. This is a recording that was made in the past. There's currently a buster call happening over there, so the place is burning to the ground as we speak, I'm sure. Now, the fact that Morgans has such pull that he knows exactly what's happening there at the point in time, plus his intuitiveness to tell that the recording itself is not something that's happening currently, but something that has been long since recorded and then set up this way. We cut to the West Blue, and we cut to the North Blue, we cut to the South Blue, all these different locations as Vegapunk is preparing to say and call all this news. Then we cut to the Kamabaka Queendom, where it's being broadcast there. And of course, Ivankov says, what does Vegapunk think he's doing? And why is his noggin so slim? So this is the first time that Ivankov is seeing Vegapunk with his head, shaved, with his head pretty much just cut. And then it shows Koala, it shows Bello Betty, Morley, Lindbergh, Karasu, pretty much all of the commanders of the North, South, East, and West. And they're all commenting on all of this news. Like, we're being teased here. Like, everyone all over the world, major players around all the world are hearing this news. And even Dragon is just listening in. Because he remembers when Shaka told him that I suspect that my death is imminent. And this is when Dragon realizes, like, oh, this must be what he meant. So we cut back to Egghead, where it has Luffy saying, so all those punches mean nothing to you, huh? As Jay Garcia tries to use his, like, unseen force ability on Luffy. And Kizaru literally shoots lasers out of his eyes, and it hits Luffy, but he still holds on to both Kizaru and Jay Garcia. As he goes, from now until the moment all my friends get away, I'm keeping you guys right here. Gum Gum Dawn Symbol! And he uses a brand new move where he just clasps his hands together, and he just smashes both Kizaru and Jay Garcia right on top of each other. And the resulting shockwave from this massive attack, because he enlarges his arms, he enlarges his hands and arms, and he just completely squashes both Jay Garcia and Kizaru together. And the shockwave from this pretty much is felt throughout the entirety of the island. It's just one big, massive, concussive shockwave. And after that, due to the ridiculous nature of the Hito Hito no Mi, he basically just squashes both Jay Garcia and Kizaru into little paper-thin versions of themselves. And then he pokes his finger into Jay Garcia and into Kizaru, and he starts twirling them around like they're pizzas. If you just bounce back from everything I do, let's see you bounce back from this, and proceeds to throw them through the air like they're just discuses. And the Navy sees something flying towards them, and the thing that flies towards them is actually Kizaru, and he hits a ship. But Jay Garcia spins right back around and then aims himself right back at Luffy. He's the only one to actually adjust his own trajectory and aim towards Luffy, who's back in his regular state. So, we get Luffy going, what? How come nothing I do damages him? Then it cuts back to Kizaru, who is on this ship, but he's just laying in a heap. And he's got his hand over his face with him going, Admiral Kizaru, what happened? Are you all right? Admiral? And Kizaru just has his hand over his face and he's not saying anything. As we get voices going, Saturn, there's no time. Vegapunk must not be given license to speak. And Jay Garcia's flying towards Luffy, still spinning, the same way that Luffy did with Gungam UFO way back in Punk Hazard. He's spinning towards Luffy while trying to use his tendril-like legs to hit Luffy. And Luffy is just running on air. Literally the same thing he did when Kaido blasted him far away from Onigashima, and he ran on air while burning the air at the same time. He does the exact same thing, just running away from all of these hits from Jay Garcia. As the Giants are getting closer and closer to the ship, Jay Garcia says, I'll make the summons. And they say, good. Then all of a sudden, a giant streak of lightning shoots up from out of the ground. And the rest of the Navy is all like, huh? What's that? Black lightning? And then it shows 4 more summoning portals, the same one that Jay Garcia came in on. 4 more start erupting all around him as Luffy's just left awestruck as, well, what do you think is about to happen? The 4 more. Jay Garcia's already there. There's 4 more people to show up. And Luffy's eyes just pop out of his skull going, what's that? And as that's happening, Sanji can sense this presence, this power. As Sanji goes, that's the same thing as when the Spider Gramp showed up. So that means something is coming. And that's the end of chapter 1109. So, and I know I'm going through this kind of quickly, because I don't intend to spend an enormous amount of time going over each one of these chapters. The next chapter we get is, well, firstly, let me just give you my thoughts on 1109. So, when I was reading it, the craziness of Luffy using Gear 5 to do all of these different things. Hold on, let me close out of this. Let me close out of that. Let me close out of this and that to make sure that my video moves smoothly. The crazy nature of Luffy is where he doesn't even think of it. He just does it. The whole thought process of enlarging your hands and then smashing your opponent until they're nothing but paper. Can we just talk about the unique nature of the Hito no Mi model Nika fruit, where it extends not only past the environment being affected, but also actual living things. See, the thing that gets me is we've seen many type of Devil Fruit awakenings, from Doflamingo to Katakuri to pretty much the extensiveness of it when it comes to Punk Hazard that has a fully frozen side because of Kazakuzan and a fully heated melting side because of Akainu. And when you think about awakenings and what they're fully capable of doing, like even Law and Kid, they have their own awakenings for their fruit, where Kid is able to assign polar magnetic poles to individuals and different things, causing them to become magnetic or even repulsive. And then you have Law that is capable of applying his room to his own sword. Not just one big room where he's able to encircle himself, but apply it to his sword to grant his sword extensive properties, to the point where he's able to extend his sword from Onigashima floating into the air, all the way down to the ground of Wano, and even deeper to the deepest recesses of Wano to a ridiculous length. So we've seen different types of awakenings, yet I've never seen a fruit that is capable of awakening to the point where it is capable of affecting people to this extent. See, the difference between the powers of the model Nika fruit and literally any other awakening or any other fruit in general is that you have lots of fruits that can affect a person's body, but not to this ridiculous degree where there's really no way you can resist it. Like it's been said already, if your haki is strong enough, you're able to nullify Devil Fruit effects. Yet no one has been able to fully resist the effects of the model Nika fruit simply because it is just that strong. Now, the reason why I make this point is the last time we saw someone with an extremely high level of haki and a high level of haki control was Kaido, and even he himself was affected by the Nika fruit to absurd degrees. So his haki wasn't strong enough to nullify it. That's just how strong this fruit is. So I go back to this chapter where Luffy is capable of manhandling a Logia user as if they're basically nothing, especially when this Logia user can move at the speed of light and cause explosions and piercing effects with his own power. And then we also have a member of the Gorosei who basically just turned into like an ox spider demon. And they haven't been able to do anything against resisting Luffy at all. So that's the reason. It's not even a matter of just how strong the fruit is. It's just that this is the reason why the Gorosei have feared this fruit being awakened, because its power is capable of working on them and they have no way to counter it. That's the deal. See, they've been trying to get their hands on this fruit for the past 8 centuries, 800 years, and they've never been able to do it. It's almost as if the fruit wants to avoid the people who want to have control over the world. This fruit of freedom, it has been purposefully avoiding them, and they've never been able to get their hands on it. The closest they were able to get their hands on it was before Shanks stole it. Now, we're in a situation where we're seeing this fruit and just some of the things that it can do, and the Gorosei are still unable to contend with it. When Luffy is capable of manhandling the highest authority in the world and one of the 3 greatest powers in the world so casually, I pack it up. Just pack it up. But now we go into the chapter where the rest of the Gorosei arrive. So in chapter 1110 called Starfall, which is, I looked into the Library of Artur concerning this chapter, and it's Starfall is in reference of all these planetary bodies falling. I'm paraphrasing. But what this means is that when these Gorosei members, let's just get into it. So, starting off this chapter, we get all these 4 different points of black lightning erupting from the ground. Everyone can sense it. Everyone can feel it. Even Vice Admiral Bluegrass, who's using one of the Sea Beast weapons to ride around on, she notices. Regular Marine soldiers are watching, going, "Isn't that what happened when St. Saturn disembarked earlier?" Very astute, but they probably won't be able to put 2 and 2 together. And Bluegrass is looking with horror and shock on her face. Then we got the Giants going, I'm worried about the others. And then an arrow comes flying in, and it destroys yet another Marine ship because of the pacifistas and Giants who are contending with everyone on the coast. Then we have Dory and Brocky making their way through the island, and we cut back to Sacred Marijois as the recording of Vegapunk and Shaka are still going on, but the Gorosei are completely out of the room. That's the big thing to take away from this section of the panels. The Gorosei are completely gone, but that summoning circle is right in the middle of the room. So as time continues to go, the timer is down to 7 minutes. And then from these portals that are around Jay Garcia on the island itself, Luffy starts to see these figures come out of it. Let's wait 7 minutes or so and then we'll begin. Not that anyone will be close enough to stop us if they wished. And then we start to see these figures get up out of these portals, as even Sanji can tell what's going on, but he's still holding on to Vegapunk. And then Luffy, who's the only person there right now, goes, "There are 5 monsters now." And we all get to see basically the Zoan forms, even if they are even Zoans, because one particular thing to note here is that it tells us what each of these members of the Gorosei are. Yet, curiously, Oda does not list them as Devil Fruit Zoan names. That's the peculiar thing. If it was like a Zoan Devil Fruit, then he would have put it directly underneath their names. But it's not listed here. It just shows the Gorosei what they are. And that's already led to a bevy of different theories about whether the Gorosei are actually demons who are capable of turning into human form, and they don't have fruit powers, that's just what they are. It's led to a lot of theories about what this means, or unless we're all just reading into it too much. But it shows everyone for what they truly are. All the rest of the Gorosei arrive, and we go down the list, coinciding with which member is at what number and where they are. So starting at number 1 is Saint J. Garcia Saturn, who is a Gyuki, which is basically an ox spider demon from the yokai lore. Then we have Saint Marcus Mars, which is a Itsumade, which is basically this reptilian bird creature with the face of a man, but with a body of a snake and wings and legs of a bird. Then we have Saint Topman Warcury, which is basically a Fengchi. Fengchi. No, it's Fengxi. Cause I'm thinking of like Singcho from Genshin Impact, and Singcho is spelled with the XI in front. But Fengshi, he's a Fengshi, which is basically called a Hoki in Japanese, but Fengshi is basically a Chinese giant killer boar. It's just a giant killer mythological boar demon. That's what Saint Topman Warcury is. Then we have Saint Ethan Baron Venus Juro, which is a Bakotsu, and I looked into it, and a Bakotsu is a very, very obscure type of yokai. It's not well known like an Oni or Kappa or any other type of or even what is it a Tanuki or different types of yokai creatures. It's kind of really obscure, but the way it's made up, it's akin to that of like a skeletal death horse, if you will. So it's a Japanese yokai, but it's very obscure and it's not as well known as the rest of them. But that's what Ethan Venus Jiro is. And then we have Saint Shepherd Jew Peter, who is a sandworm. Or if you want to go by mythology stories, you might as well compare him to being a giant Mongolian deathworm, because that's one of the big creatures like cryptids or big creatures that look similar to what Jew Peter looks like. So in order of 1 through 5, we have a Gyuki, Itsumade, Fengshi, Bakotsu, and a sandworm. And these, and in a big double spread panel, which we really haven't gotten in a long time. Like a massive double spread panel. Not like extra panels up top, it's just one big massive spread. We have the full monster appearances of all members of the Gorosei that have arrived here on Egghead. Highest authority of the world government, 5 elders. And they're all here in their monster forms, directly in front of Luffy. And then it shows Ethan Baron preparing to run past all of the Gorosei, and he just makes his way through the forest. And then it shows a pacifista firing on the Navy warships. And then Ethan Baron turns into like his hybrid Zoan form. And mind you, they're all awakened. They all have whatever they all are awakened, and they all have that plume of fire around their shoulders that is trademark of a Zoan user having awakened their form. He runs through the forest with blinding speed, and he goes into his hybrid form, where the upper half of his body is a man, so he essentially turns into a centaur because of this transformation, and he's moving at such a speed that he slices through one of the pacifistas. But he doesn't slice through it as if it's like a regular cut. He slices completely through the pacifista, but all of a sudden the pacifista itself just falls to the ground. And Ethan Baron is moving so fast that he is slashing multiple pacifistas within the blink of an eye. People are noticing something moving, but they can't tell what it is because that's how fast Ethan Baron is moving. And then it shows the pacifista closest to us has shut down. Same over here. Are they getting slashed? No, it seems to be partially frozen. And then it shows, who is that? It shows Mars. Yeah, it shows Mars, who's flying into the air with Sanji going, "Hello, Nami, Robin, etc. Come in. It's kind of hard to explain what's happening here, but in short, time's up. Get away from there." And they're questioning what's going on. Then we have other people who are checking on the pacifistas, and the reports is they've been temporarily disabled due to their insides being frozen. Well, basically, it's the circuits that connect to their brain that allows them to fully function. They've been completely frozen, which gives you an idea of what Ethan Baron can do. Brook is no longer the only skeletal being that is capable of using the chill of the underworld with his own sword attacks. It seems to be a trademark against with all individuals who have a similar devil fruit powers. Whereas Brook can do it because he ate the, what is it? The revive fruit. Ethan Barron can do it because he can turn into a literal death horse. He literally can wield the chill of death alongside his own, swordsmanship. And this is the first time we see his blade. Now, the thing about it is, we see his blade, and his blade is black. Like, if it was normal, it would have that sheen to it. It would have, like, that black part, that black tempered edge, and then it would have the silvery, it would have, like, I want to say the black tempered edge, and then it will have the silver part for the back guard. I need to brush up on my swordsman forge terminology, but we see a sword and it's completely black with no designs along the blade. Like, we've seen those types of swords before. We don't know if this can count as a black blade, though. You know, that term that was brought up by Mihawk. Or we don't know what type of sword he may have, though it's widely speculated that he wields the first Kitetsu blade, which is the first of many cursed blades that would later be, made later on in life. It's speculated, and it wouldn't be much of a surprise if he actually wielded the very first Kitetsu blade. I mean, we don't even know how old the Gorosei actually are. So it wouldn't surprise me if he wields the first Kitetsu blade. First Shodai Kitetsu. So while that's going on, Mars is flying up above, and everyone is trying to find out what's going on. We have Doberman saying, "Kill Bonnie now while we have the opening," because they need to take out Bonnie in order for them to gain control of the pacifistas again. Of course, they keep forgetting that you do not have easy people to beat who are protecting Bonnie. But Mars flies high up in the air, while Sanji's telling them, "Just run away, a really freaky monster's flying up towards you, escape at once." And mind you, he's down below, making his way over to where they're supposed to be escaping. But Mars is flying, and he just goes headfirst into the Frontier Dome. And while that's going on, Ethan Barron is still slicing through all of the pacifistas. And then it cuts back to Luffy, who's dodging all of these tentacle attacks from Jay Garcia, while Top Man Warcury and Jupiter are still hanging behind. The big boar and the Mongolian death worm. And Jupiter goes right underground with him going, and it dove under what? It dove under! And then it has Usopp, who's joined up with everyone, because Usopp used his own pop greens to stop the Sunny from falling off of the Labo phase and, ruining their chances of actually getting out. We have Jinbei's going, I understand the urgency, whether the fight's finished or not, I'm going to drag him back with me. And it cuts back to when Lucci was fighting Zoro, and Lucci manages to knock one of Zoro's swords into the air, going, "You sense that massive haki too, don't you? Almost makes you want to stop and look." So this pretty much confirms that is haki being outputted by the Gorosei when they arrived. That is not like some sort of strange presence. If Lucci is acknowledging that it's haki, and everyone who is capable of using observation haki is capable of noticing, that is full-on haki being outputted by all of the Gorosei right now. Just their mere presence is so overwhelming that everyone who's anyone can tell if they themselves have haki. You sense that massive haki too, don't you? Almost makes you want to stop and look. And Zoro goes, "It's all over the island." And then it has Sanji going, "Thanks, Jinbei, we need that now. I see him, he's still fighting. Stupid moss head, putting the entire crew in danger. He's a liability." Now, here's the thing. Zoro hears this. It bothers him. And then you just get this word from Sanji bothers him so much that when Lucci tries to use hand pistol spots, and mind you, this isn't like his Madara. This isn't like his finger pistol spots, because finger pistol spots only uses his finger, but hand pistols is literally his entire hand being used. So when he tries to use it on Zoro, Zoro does not get phased at all. He just casually dodges every single one of them. And mind you, let's just have a reminder here. Lucci is fast. Lucci is fast, but Zoro's just casually dodging everything from Lucci, catches his sword, he gets his sword back, and then puts the sword in his mouth and goes three-sword styled, hoo-hoof a spot hunt, and in an instant he slashes right across Lucci with extreme force and immediately one-shots him. And Jinbei's noticed this, and Zoro's just like, buzzing, and he's upset because, Sanji called him a liability. But then we cut back to Luffy as Jupiter launches up out of the ground in an attempt to swallow up Luffy. And he winds up doing that. But then we get Dorian Broggy, who goes, "Did you see that?" "I sure did, a familiar sight. He's not a man suited for dark places. Here goes, Sun Saw!" Almost bit my tongue there, sorry. Sun Saw! And Dorian Broggy, in reverse directions, cut segments. And here's the thing, I thought that they brought their blades close to each other to slice off the head, but no, Dory slices one lower portion of Jupiter's neck, and then Broggy slices a higher spot of Jupiter's neck, causing that whole entire section where Luffy got swallowed to be thrown in multiple chunks. Give me a sec. OBS disconnected for a quick second. Yeah, the section where Luffy was swallowed got thrown into multiple chunks, and Luffy's freed from being swallowed by Jupiter. And in the process, Luffy finally sees Dorian Broggy for the first time in many years, in 2 years, going, "Huh? It's you guys, the Giants!" "Ga ba 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 ba! It's been too long, Straw Hat! We couldn't wait to see you again! Ga 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 ga!" And this is just a wonderful reunion between Luffy and the Giants ever since the events of Little Garden. The thing that stuck out to me the most when I read this chapter originally was just the fact that all of the Gorosei are just basically ancient demons. That's essentially what they are. An Itsumade, a Fengshi, or a Hoki, if you're going from the Japanese name of it. I said Itsumade, it was a Gyuki, Itsumade, Fengshi, or Hoki, Bakotsu, and then basically a sandworm, or a Mongolian death worm, if you will. And they're all just basically mythological creatures. Now, the unique thing about this is that what we know about mythological creature devil fruits in this world of One Piece is that they tend to have a lot of supernatural abilities that come with them. What we get from Jay Garcia is his ability to use this unseen force that can pretty much blow up the heads of lesser individuals and cause immense damage to even people as strong as Sanji in an instant, and also have the ability to basically force them to stay motionless in place. Just this unseen force that holds them back, almost like they're frozen. They can't move even if they wanted to. And one of the capabilities we see from Ethan Barrow, which is basically a giant skeletal death horse, is that he too, like Brook, can use the chill of the underworld. And it just brings back into mind just how these unique powers can coincide with each other, even though two different fruits operate on two different levels. Brook's fruit is a paramecia type, whereas Ethan Baron is supposedly using a Zoan type, yet it gives him access to those same abilities. And I wouldn't be surprised if his ability to use the chill of the underworld is superior to Brook's due to his mythological and supernatural nature, and also because of how absurdly strong he is. Because I know he's absurdly strong. He's absurdly fast, given the fact that he was capable of freezing all of the pacifistas across the coast without anyone even noticing who he was. That's how fast he was. So I would dare say that Ethan Barrow's control over the chill of the underworld may in fact be far stronger than Brook's. Brook just learned how to control that and get a better hold on it during the 2-year time skip. But given how long the Gorosei have been around, supposedly, I'm pretty sure that Ethan Barron has had a plenty amount of time to refine that to absolute perfection. And I feel like what Brook is capable of doing with the chill of the underworld for his soul solid is nothing compared to what Ethan Barron can do. But that's the end of chapter 1110. So, the next chapter we get is another interesting one, because This is the first chapter we get. This is the chapter we get before Oda went on his like 3 week break, and it's called Sun Shield. And it shows that Mars has made it inside of the Frontier Dome, and he starts flying all over these places, looking for this, looking for someplace. And Jinbei notices and goes like, "What is that thing? Such preposterous hockey." Mind you, the last time that Jinbei said that someone's hockey was preposterous was when he felt Shanks's hockey emanating from outside the country and affecting Ryokugyu when Ryokugyu came for the heads of Luffy and everyone else. That's the last time Jinbei has mentioned someone having monstrous or preposterous hockey. So it just lets you know that the hockey emanating from the Gorosei is reminiscent of that of someone as strong as Shanks. So as that's going on, Jinbei is flying over to Zoro, asking if he's done, and Zoro says not yet because Lucci is still standing. Even though he's been slashed across the chest, he's been slashed horizontally 3 times across the chest, but he's still standing, and he's not willing to give in. And he just roars out in anger, with Sanji going, "Did you get him yet, Jinbei?" And Jinbei goes, "I'll do it now." And he gets Zoro in a chokehold and just drags him away. And then Jinbei goes, "Sorry about this, Rob Lucci. 5,000 brick chop." And using this chop, he creates this massive smoke screen that allows both Jinbei and Zoro to get away. And in this moment, Lucci, being spent, goes right back to his human state again. Those scars ain't going nowhere anytime soon. But then Lucci is surprised to see that Mars is floating in front of him, going, "Cypherpole Aegis 0 Rob Lucci. Where is York?" And this is the first time this is one of the very few times we see Rob Lucci have this face of utter shock on his face. This face of utter shock. Just surprised to see this flying creature in front of him. And then Jinbei starts to get away as Mars is seen in the background, with Zoro going, "Hey, what is that thing?" As Zoro's riding on Jinbei's back. Yeah, and Jinbei's flying using the Dom shoes, and Zoro's just riding on his back. But Lucci just gives him all the information that he's learned since he's there. York is still tied up in the command room on the 4th floor of Building A. Currently on the loose are the 2 who just escaped, Roronoa Zoro and Jinbei, First Son of the Sea. 5 other members of the Straw Hat crew. Oh, he has a recording as well. 5 other members of the Straw Hat crew and 2 Vegapunks, preparing to escape from the back exit of the Labo phase. There are 85 other Cypherpole agents and 4 Seraphim in the basement of the lab. Vegapunk's message resumes in 6 minutes. And Mars congratulates him with a simple "well done, no further questions." And we have Hattori who's flying over to Lucci. And then Mars flies away from Lucci, with him going, "Wait, my partner is still gravely wounded in the command room." And he's referring to Kaku, which shows one of the very few... Wait, hold on. I gotta refresh chat because I thought no one was saying anything at all. Yeah, wow. I am sorry, Holster. I haven't been seeing what you've been saying. I've been noticing that I've seen some words start to crop up on the screen, but let me go back. With Morgans, he runs the newspaper, so I'm not surprised he has such a news network. Plus, he's one of the few people in the world we see have a base of operation that flies, which enables him to keep away from anyone that could do him harm, unless those people can fly as well. I'm curious to see how far the Toon-like nature can go with Luffy's fruit, because his awakening really is crazy. It is. You cannot get any more insane from Holster. You cannot get any more insane. And I'm going to cover all your comments here because I didn't see it because I didn't update chat on my phone. My apologies for not responding to all of that. But Toon Force is by far one of the most OP things in animation. One of the most overpowered things that have ever been introduced to the world of fiction. With Toon Force, you're capable of accessing hammer space, where objects that normally wouldn't be in a space can come out of it. There's a literal devil fruit like that from a person that followed Whitebeard during the events of the Marineford War. And the way Toon Force works is that a lot of characters that have Toon Force tend to be quite invincible. Got Popeye, you got Looney Tunes, you got the classic rubber tunes like Felix the Cat, or Bosco from like the old 1920s, 1930s black and white cartoons. different cartoons like that, specifically Rubber Hose animation, where death was never really permanent. It was just an annoyance for characters. That is what Luffy has access to. So incorporate everything that is linked. Incorporate everything that is linked to Toon Force, and that is what Luffy has at his disposal. And given his disposition of always wanting to be as free as possible, he literally has the imagination to do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. And that extends to them as well. If Luffy wants his hands to be giant enough to slam two people together into pancakes and then turn them into flat versions of themselves and then so flatten them that they get turned into pizza discs while he's spinning them and then throw them away, he's going to do that. That's what he has access to. It's insane that you just gave one of the most overpowered abilities in all of fiction. Not just in One Piece. All of fiction. You want to know how big fiction is? It is gargantuan. There's so many different powers that we've seen in works of fiction. Invincibility, immortality, all sorts of different powers. The ability to warp reality. But the ability of Toon Force is by far one of the most overpowered abilities in all fiction. And the main character of this story has that power. I don't know what else to say. So let me see. Anyone think about the giant boar creature from Wano when we saw Top Man Work Yuri? Yep, I thought of the mountain god boar as well. I immediately thought of the mountain god boar. The mountain god boar. The same one that Odin sliced through completely through. I didn't mention it then, but it's the first thing that popped into my mind. Nose is tickling. I might need to sneeze. But I immediately thought of the mountain god boar all the way from Wano when I saw Top Man, because that's the last time we saw a giant boar creature was all the way back in Wano. I don't know why, because his form looks different. See, the thing is, with Work Yuri, he has multiple tusks, and he has like this fiery design around him, whereas the mountain boar was just completely clad in white fur, and it only had like a regular pair of tusks. Let me see. I hope Ethan Barron has an interaction with Brook. I kind of want Brook or Zoro to be the one to take him down. He just screams Zoro or Brook fight. Saturn has poison capabilities too, not just that glare thing. Yeah, I didn't mention that. I didn't mention it. Saturn has the ability to poison as well. But I was really just making note of the supernatural aspect of his fruits, aspect of his power. Poison stuff, I think it just comes with the whole animal side of him, but I was really making note of the supernatural side, because it's the supernatural abilities of a mythical Zoan type that gets my attention the most. So that's the reason why I didn't mention that. I was just mentioning the supernatural abilities, and which is why I only talked about the supernatural ability of Ethan Barron when he was slicing through people with the chill of the underworld. I still give Lucci credit for that. He's a terrible human being, but I give him credit where credit is due. Went into the chapter fully expecting Lucci to be knocked out. Yo, Ogata, good to see you. Let's see. Hey, Holster, good to see you. Blamco with his pocket fruit, right? Yeah, him. Blamenko. Good to see you as well. Yeah, he does look like him. Oh, that makes more sense. The supernatural stuff. Yeah. When it comes to mythical Zoans, it's not the animal, instinctual, natural stuff that they do that gets my attention. Even though that side is also amped up, because the poison was capable of eating through an entire tree in seconds, which are boosted by the supernatural nature of the Gyuki form that Jay Garcia had. But it's the supernatural powers that go beyond just natural animal defenses or capabilities that really get my attention. So that's the reason why I only made note of that. But one thing to note here from Lucci in this instance is that despite him being a horrible human being with no sign of him ever being a good person, he actually shows just an amount of concern that makes you wonder, maybe he's not all bad completely 100%. Maybe 99.95% bad, with just the other 0.5% being the one that's concerned about Kaku. So going back to this, he goes, "My partner is still gravely wounded in the command room. Please spare his life." And then Mar says, "That may not be possible. One does not attempt to step on ants. It simply happens." Now, this is Mars saying this to Lucci. And now whether or not Lucci is going to take some whatever information from what he just learned from Mars as personal, or if he's just going to continue as he has, that remains to be seen. So we get back to Luffy, who's, chilling out with Dory and Broggy, going, I can't believe it's been 2 years. Good to see you giants again. And you, Straw Hat, I almost didn't recognize ya. Ka-ba-ba-ba-ba! How do you know the form of the god spoken in Elbaf? Huh? Your outfit. It pleases us greatly. Ka-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba! Yeah, I don't know what you mean, but we can talk later. Which just confirms what I said before. And I said this on one of my previous reflections where the individual that they revere had to be Nika. And this just pretty much confirms this theory I had, I want to say maybe 2, maybe 3 reflections ago, where it might have been 2 reflections ago, because I think it was the chapters of this year that we got Dory and Broggy's return. So it had to have been one of my recent reflections where they were talking about, like, we revere him and everything, and I'm saying, like, yeah, the sun god they're referring to is Nika. And of course, we had a big discussion about who they're talking about, like, they worship the sun, but that doesn't mean it necessarily means Nika. But now, Broggy is basically just confirming that the form of the god spoken in Elbaf is in fact Nika. So while that's going on, we get Workury in his boar form going, Giants? A bad combination. Look at those colossal beasts. They look like they came from Elbaf's forest. But we don't want to fight them, guys. We need to run. And then we're already aware. We saw Sanji earlier. He said if you see Luffy, tell him to run around the back of the island. And we have all this information, the flashbacks of when Sanji was talking to Dory and Broggy before. And then we have a map that shows where everyone is, saying, we saw the story in the newspaper and came to help you escape. It said you were surrounded by the Navy. And he blows into a horn that all of the giants can sense, all the giants can hear, and all the giants who have been pretty much destroying all of these Navy ships in front of them, they raise their swords high and it's all like, yes, that's the captains! They found Straw Hat! Back to the ship! Prepare to withdraw! And as they're preparing to leave, we get the Marines going, oh, darn it, and then we have Workury who goes, an escape signal? We can't have that. I'll sound a warning of my own then. Huh? A warning not to escape. And then it shows Workury let out this massive cry. Mind you, this is a massive roar. A massive gargantuan roar. So when I saw this panel earlier, part of me was wondering, okay, what's going on here? It doesn't look like he's sucking up everything around him like his mouth is just like a big giant vacuum. Like, I thought he was doing that at first. But then it shows Dory and Broggy putting their shields up and Luffy and they're all bracing themselves as this roar is being broadcast throughout the entire island. And it's so powerful that it knocks out Luffy's eyes, it knocks off his hat, it knocks off the cuffs of his shorts, it even knocks off his shoes, and coincidentally and comically, it literally tears off the scar on his chest. That's how forceful it is. It's literally blowing all of these important details on Luffy right off of his body. And as this is happening, we see this lightning just course throughout the island, which confirms, as we see multiple Marines starting to foam at the mouth and faint, that this is not your average roar. This is by far the biggest example of a Conqueror's Haki yell. The last time we saw something similar was way back on Whole Cake Island. That was Oda letting us know that this is a thing that can happen. Don't be surprised if you see it again later. But I'm not going to say anything about it. But remember to keep that sort of capability in your mind. Now we're getting an amped up version of that that's being felt across the entire island. Mind you, this is far larger than what Big Mom was outputting. Her Conqueror's Haki yell only extended to the rooftop of the Whole Cake Chateau. That's it. It only affected the people up top. You didn't see any images of people getting affected at the bottom of the chateau. It was just a yell that was affecting everyone on the top of this one building. But Workury, he's yelling out in this giant boar form, with conquerors, and it's affecting any weak-willed person across the entire island and also across the entire island. So this is the biggest showcase of a conqueror's haki infused yell that we have ever seen. And while this is going, even the Marines are going, the island is pulsating again. Mind you, the first time that the island felt like it was pulsating, it was because Luffy was using his Gear 5 state to pretty much affect the entire island, and he also used that to save Bonnie, Kuma, and everyone from falling to their deaths before it got revealed, before they hit the ground. I think Kaido did it after Big Mom was defeated, and it pushed Luffy back? Really? If I had to take a guess, the whole CP9 cover story probably did have a direct impact on Lucci, where Kaku and everyone were trying to get money for his surgery and stuff after the events of Enies Lobby. I wouldn't be surprised, because he's fully capable of behaving like a regular inhuman being. A regular human being. It was just when those candy pirates started to show up is when he showed his true darkness, and he went overboard, and everyone saw his brutality, and in the process, they had to leave. So had Lucci approached that situation less lethal, it might have been an easier time for them, since they were still technically on the run at the time. But I want to say that he may have saw a different side to his own cohorts, rather than them just being agents that work with him to kill people, but, you know, them having an actual human side. So while this is going on, and Luffy has all of his personal features just blown off of his body, Brocky goes, "Are you alright, Straw Hat? Got enough parts there? What a funny body you've got. Yeah. As Luffy's parts all go right back on his body, going, "That was a close one," as he's checking his body, and he's even checking his scar. And then we get Luffy who's going, "A color of the Supreme King Roar? Who is that guy? Some bossy guy in the world government." And then Warkyuri, showing that he's not just one big, giant, massive body individual that can't move. He goes flying into the air and starts doing somersaults. It literally has the swirls of him doing somersaults in his giant boar state, flying towards Dory and Broggy. And this shocks Luffy, but Dory and Broggy go, "Broggy, ready! Svalin Sun Shield!" And they both put up their shields to block Warkyuri, who has turned two of his tusks into actual blades. So there's another supernatural ability that is available to Warkyuri. So we have Gyuki, that's capable of not only using poison, but that's a normal animal thing, but he's able to use his eyes to, send out this lethal, unseen force that can shatter the heads of lesser people and affect people who are stronger than that. Then we have Ethan Barrow, who can turn into a Bakotsu, which allows him to use the chill of an underworld to an extremely high degree. And now we have Warkyuri, who not only can use a Conqueror's Haki-infused roar that can affect the entire island, but he's also capable of somehow turning his tusks into actual blades to be used as weapons. So how that falls into the category of what type of creature he is, I'm not going to say Devil Fruit user, because that title hasn't been shown yet. So I'm just going to keep calling the Gorosei creatures rather than me calling them Devil Fruit users just yet. Even though they have the trademark Zone Awakening Flame around them, I want to wait until Oda gives us that name. I want Oda to give us that actual title for them before I just, go 100% into it. But he turns his tusk into blades, which Dorian and Broggy block. And then Warkyuri lets out some information going, "We have much to settle with your kind. Do you even know who that is?" "Of course we do. He's a friend. Ga ba 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 ba. Ga 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 ga." Both the giants, they only see Luffy as a friend. They see Luffy as a friend, but they also see him as, basically the sun god. But Warkyuri, it's very interesting that Warkyuri lets it known that the Gorosei, and he says we, not I, but we. The Gorosei apparently have a vendetta against giant kind as well. On top of everything else that's going on, there's a vendetta against the Gorosei and the giants. "We have much to settle with your kind. Do you even know who that is?" So after they say he's a friend, they both use Skilla Split, where they take their shields that they've been shielding with, and they completely uppercut Warkyuri and send him flying backwards, landing him on his back. Then we have Jay Garcia going, and he must be crushed before you call him something else. And it just shows that the Gorosei does not want the name Nika spoken. So it's so influential that the name Nika is just as volatile as saying Void Century. Because remember, when Who's Who was talking about how he was jailed for letting the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika fruit get stolen from him, and a guard was talking about how Nika was a person that was a liberator and wanted to free people and free slaves, and then the very next day, that guard was gone. But we all know that that guard was killed because he revealed the name Nika. So, we have Jay Garcia going, and he must be crushed before you call him something else. Eradicated from the historical record, as he starts firing these poison globules towards Dory, Brogy, and Luffy, with Luffy going, watch out, that's going to be poison! And then Luffy, just all of a sudden, picks up a giant palm tree, then gnaws on it like he's a beaver, gets a can of paint from somewhere, paints the bat black with 56, which is essentially 5 go 6 mu, so it's literally reads out Gomu on the bat itself. Thank you guys for letting me know that. Puts on a hat that's also black, and then prepares to swat away all these poison globules like he's playing baseball, and he starts laughing, going, how do you like a taste of your own poison? And both Warcury and Jay Garcia are surprised as these same so-called poison globules wind up blowing them all up. With Luffy going, what? They exploded? Then we have Brogy going, captains, well, we have a giant going, captains, the flames are going to block off the forest. Let's get going. Yeah, blow them to bits. Ga-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba! Let's hurry, this won't matter. They're immortal! Because we see all the remaining, all the other members of the Gorosei, specifically Jay Garcia, Warcury, and Jupiter, just standing in the flames. And it shows them, even though they've been injured by this, they're just getting up through the flames, like that one scene from Batman Forever? Batman and Robin? I want to say Batman and Robin, the Joel Schumacher movies, where Batman just runs out of the flames, they're just standing in the flames themselves. And as that's going on, we have Dory and Brogy going, keep running! How can they be immortal? I don't know, but they keep coming back no matter what you do. I've never heard of any such race or power. And seeing as how old Dory and Brogy are, this goes beyond even them knowing. They're 100 and something years old. Like 150, 156, 157. They're a full century old, and then some years, and then some decades. And for them to say, like, I've never heard of any such power or race, that means that this is something that even the giants who have been around for a while have no knowledge of. And they're some of the most long-lived individuals in the entire world. Unless you have that eternal youth surgery done on you by a previous owner of the Ope Ope no Mi, which comes at the cost of the user's life. But for Dory and Brogy to not know about a power that allows you to regenerate from whatever happened to you, and it's not linked to a Logia user? And then he says, best to run. And while they're getting ready to go, we have the rest of the giants. Everyone's running, everyone's getting prepared to get the Sunny ready so they can go. We have Jinbei holding on, running, going like, I think it's faster just to run. And Jinbei is faster on the ground running than he is using the Dom shoes. Then we have Bonnie with the other giants who are running towards their giant ship, going, look, in front of the ship! And we have Admiral Red King, Guillotine, and, Red King, Guillotine, and the other guy. Dang it, I forgot his name. But all of these other vice admirals are there in their way going, you're not getting on that boat, Jewelry Bonnie. And then it cuts to Sanji, who's still carrying Vegapunk. Then we cut to Mars, who has made his way into the control room going, where's the room on the monitor? And York is screaming, monster! It talked! Who are you going? Mind you, York has no idea that it's a member of the Gorosei that she's speaking to. So she's not mentally in a space where, Pomsky, thank you, Pomsky. Red King, quintuple chins. Then we have Guillotine, and then, of course, we have Pomsky. But York has no idea that this is one of the members of the Gorosei that she's been talking to this entire time, secretly talking to this entire time. So she's just scared out of her mind while Mars is trying to find out where this room is. So we also get back to the ship where Kizaru is, and he's still laying there with them going, Kizaru, show us your wounds. Let us help you. Am I wounded? Yes, deeply wounded. Then we should act fast. Just let me rest. And while that's going on, Kizaru, I don't even think he's got his shades on. I think he took his shades off. I'm trying to look, but I don't see the contours of like the lower half of his shades on his face. And he's just laying there because the wounds that he's suffered go beyond just physical ones. I mentioned this during my last reaction for this chapter. The wounds he's feeling is because the wounds that he's deeply wounded by, this pain he's feeling is not from his fight with Luffy or anyone else. It's literally the pain of, going up against the very people he called friends. Because, Kizaru was there chilling with Bonnie and Kuma, Sentomaru, and Vegapunk during Kuma's, days staying there on Egghead and doing his thing as one of the warlords. The amount of time he spent with Kuma and company, they're like this. But with Kizaru's disposition of being basically a company man, he's just, like he said, he's just another cog in the machine. He doesn't let his job get his sentimentality get in the way of his own job. And yet at the same time, this is hurting him because he knows these people. He even said, like, just stay still, Bonnie and Vegapunk. I'll end this in one, just stay still, Kuma, Bonnie. I'll end this in one strike. Like, he's willing to go out of his way to, like, even though he's doing this job, he just wants to get it over with. Because he doesn't want to deal with it anymore. Because of his connection with all these people. So the wounds he feels, they're not just physical, they're emotional. They're psychological. They are the kind of pain you feel where if you've been told that you need to take out your best friend that you've known for years, and you have to take them out, and you guys get into a fight, and you're suffering far more than just any physical blow you're taking from this friend. You are suffering emotional damage. You are suffering emotional damage from having to go through this in the first place. That's what Kizaru is going through, which shows you that he's got a side to him where if he's known you for a very long time, he's not comfortable with this. We've seen him be nonchalant and cold and ruthless with a lot of people, but this is one of the few times where he's not very eager to get this job done. Sure, his justice is unclear justice. He can be lackadaisical, but when it's time to get the work done and get it done fast, he's not one to shy away from that. But this is one of the few times where he's literally, for him to be the fastest man in the world with his ability to turn into light and move at light speed, he's not moving at a pace that conjoins with that speed concerning how grave this situation is. Do we know where Doll and Bluegrass are right now? Well, we don't know what side Bluegrass and company are. Because Bluegrass was piloting the giraffe sea beast weapons when the Gorosei first showed up. And she could sense the presence of them entering. And Doll was riding on that very same giraffe sea beast weapon, but we don't necessarily know what side of the island they are in. Matter of fact, if I go back, let me go back to chapter 1110, because the position of where Bluegrass actually is may give us a good idea of where she is. And it shows that from the point of entry, it's a very far distance into the island, but we don't see the adjacent area around Bluegrass in 1110. So we don't know where Bluegrass and Doll are. We don't know. We just know that she's close enough to see the lightning emanate from the entrance of the Gorosei. I just hope they don't run into Sanji. That's my one hope. Sanji, I wouldn't say he's going to have a hard time with Bluegrass, but it's Doll who's going to have a hard time with. And given how, we don't even know how strong Vice Admiral Doll is, considering that she served under Saul. We don't know her capabilities. We've only seen her in a location where she was chilling with Tashigi and talking to Garp. Well, she was present during the reverie, and she was also in the same location where the giant children were being taken care of. But we just don't know her full capabilities. We don't. We know Bluegrass has the ride fruit. That's it. But Vice Admiral Doll, I don't think we know too much about. So while this is going on and Kizaru is just trying to rest and just think about everything that's going on, we cut back to the island where reports are coming in. Something far larger than even the giants has appeared on the island. Reporting from the northwest coast of Egghead, the gargantuan creature is standing in the flames and groaning about something. And it turns out that this very big, large thing that's standing up in these flames is the Iron Giant. Finally standing up and moving. Going, sorry, Joy Boy. Now, the thing that stands out to me is that this is yet another, and I said this during my last reaction, and I saved everything that I wanted to say for today. This really just put into perspective that Joy Boy has had far more connections than we could have ever hoped. First was Zunisha, literally a walking elephant that is home to the minks. It's a giant elephant, the tallest living thing in the world, even bigger than San Juan Wolf, because this elephant is capable of walking across the ocean because it has ridiculously long legs for it to be a giant elephant. But now we have this Iron Giant that is also connected to Joy Boy. As far as what that connection is, remains to be seen. Does Joy Boy have a part to play in the fact that this Iron Giant attacked Sacred Marijwa 200 years ago? Who can say? All I know is we're finding out more and more things connected to Joy Boy, and the more things we find out connected to Joy Boy is more information about Joy Boy that I feel is going to be very important when we find out who Joy Boy actually was. Because even Robin was all like, who's Joy Boy? Because Joy Boy is like this name that just keeps propping up, but we don't know who Joy Boy is. Many speculations that he was a previous user of the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, and there's just so little we know about Joy Boy, yet we keep getting more individuals who are linked to him, and I find that very interesting, which means that information about Joy Boy is soon to come, and I really hope that it has something to do with what Vegapunk's message is going to be. But that is the end of the chapter, ladies and gentlemen, and the end of all the chapters we got in March. Tomorrow starts April. Let me see what you guys have said. Do you think Joy Boy knew Lady Toki Kozuki? Just Lady Toki then. It's possible, given the fact that Lady Toki was capable of traveling many years into the future, and the time that she is from, it's never been expressively said where she came from. Let me pull this up. Because with her ability to travel in time, yes, she does come. She does come from 830 years ago. So she comes from a time when the Void Century and the ancient civilization was a thing. That's the time period she came from. And when I read this chapter originally, when I was going through this chapter originally, that stuck out to me. The fact that she's the first person who had knowledge of that time period, but she never really talked about it much. She's born around 830 years ago. By the time she was born around 830 years ago before the present day, by the time she was 26 years old, she jumped forward in time with her Devil Fruit ability and arrived 30 years before the present, where she met Odin and stayed with him for 10 years until he was executed and she was killed during the destruction of Odin Castle. So yeah, Toki ate the Toki Toki no Mi, a paramecia-type devil fruit that allows her to send herself and others forward in time. She could send herself or others years and even decades into the future, however, going back to the past is impossible. This power allowed her to escape from dangerous situations by going forward to a point where the danger is long past. Because of this, she ended up traveling a grand total of 800 years into the future. The last time she used it before her death was sending her son Kozuki Momonosuke and some of her husband's retainers 2 decades into the future to save them from the beast pirates. Now, the history is birth and time travel, born around 800 years ago, which was, she was born during the Void Century. Despite being part of the Amatsuki daimyo family, she did not know about her homeland. After consuming the Toki Toki no Mi, she traveled forward in times multiple times whenever she was in danger. So, Who knows? Given the history of Toki, who knows? Zunisha, this giant, the OG Poseidon or Mermaid Princess, I forgot which one. Did the Sea Kings that saved the Noah in Fishman Island, did they mention Joy Boy? I just want to run that. I just want to run that information real quick. Did the Sea Kings mention Joy Boy when they were pulling the Noah and saving Fishman Island from being obliterated? Did they ever mention Joy Boy when they were talking? I'm trying to remember. It's been a hot minute since I last read the Fishman Island volume for all of you. Let me see. Matter of fact, let's just look up Joy Boy in general. All right, Joy Boy is a title held by two known people, being a highly significant historical term. The first and most well-known one was an extremely relevant figure in the Void Century who played an important role in the history of Fishman Island and left behind a certain item of unimaginable value on the last island of the Grand Line, thus becoming a legendary and much remembered figure in the world of One Piece. First mentioned on the poneglyph read by Nico Robin while at the Sea Force, based on the historical recordings of this that Joy Boy left on the poneglyphs. It was believed that Joy Boy would return around 800 years after the Void Century. After Monkey D. Luffy awakened his mythological Zoan-type devil fruit, the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, also referred to as the Paramecia devil fruit Gomu Gomu no Mi, and his heartbeat took on the sound of the drums of liberation. Zunisha stated that Joy Boy had returned, indicating that Luffy has become the new Joy Boy. So, history. First Joy Boy. More than 800 years ago during the Void Century, this information is going to be subject to change as we find out more about the Void Century, the residents of Fishman Island made a promise to a great man known as Joy Boy. He attempted to raise Noah with Poseidon's help, but broke his promise to Fishman Island due to an unknown reason. At some point, he became a comrade of Zunisha. At a different point, Joy Boy came across an island which would later be named Laugh-Tale by Gold D. Roger and left behind a treasure that would become known to the world as the One Piece. And then, of course, we have his legacy, which is what we know about it in the present day. The original Joy Boy left messages regarding his return 800 years later. One of those messages was to Fishman Island and to Poseidon, apologizing for breaking his promise and promising that someone would fulfill it in the future. Another message was left at the unnamed island, claiming that he would return in 800 years' time. He really did, because now Luffy's the new Joy Boy, so that's 800 years later. Over 20 years before the present, when the Roger Pirates conquered the Grand Line by reaching the then unnamed island, they read the message and learned the true history of the world, but decided to leave it as is, realizing they were too early. Roger found the story hilarious and declared he wished he and Joy Boy could have lived during the same period upon learning the true history, and subsequently named the island Laugh-Tale. Fishman Island's half of the promise was almost broken during the events of the Fishman Island arc, when Monkey D. Luffy was asked to protect the island no matter what the cost, even if it meant that Noah had to be destroyed in the process. Before Luffy could destroy the ship completely, Noah's fall was stopped by a group of Sea Kings that were summoned unknowingly by Shirahoshi, thus saving Fishman Island and maintaining the nation's promise to Joy Boy. However, the ship was still heavily damaged. The Sea Kings then took the ship to the Sea Force, where they planned to fix it. And then, of course, we have the Second Coming. According to King Neptune, there is a legend in the royal family regarding the person who will fulfill Joy Boy's promise. Matsuki Toki used the abilities of her devil fruit to travel to Wano in the future to search of the day of Joy Boy's return. Yo! Neil Johnson! Neil Johnson out here being a member for 2 full years. Man, Neil, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just wanted to get that clap out for you. 2 years, a member for 2 years? It's been so long. 2 years of Q, keep hustling. Oh, you know it. You know it. So, going back to this, during the Roger Pirates' journey after Kozuki Oden joined, they traveled to Fishman Island, and on their way, both Roger and Oden heard the Sea Kings talk about the birth of someone who will lead them in 25 years along with the new Poseidon. After the crew's discovery on Laugh-Tale, Odin returned to his home in Wano country, which also had a connection to Joy Boy, and made plans to open up the enclosed land in preparations for Joy Boy's return. However, his efforts were foiled when the shogunate was usurped by Kurozumi Orochi, aided by the pirate Kaido, culminating in Odin's death during the legendary hour. Thus, he left the task to his retainers. At an unknown point in time, Kaido also learned about Joy Boy and began searching for the next one for an unknown reason. King, a member of the Beast Pirates as well as the near-extinct Lunarian race, seemingly believed that Kaido himself could become Joy Boy and change the world. Although he eventually came to dismiss the figure as could have become Joy Boy and changed the world. Although he eventually came to dismiss the figure as a mere legend. Sometime after Odin's death, Yamato, Kaido's child and an admirer of Odin, took up his name and after learning the truth from Odin's journal, worked to fulfill his dream. After Monkey D. Luffy was knocked out by Kaido on the Skull Dome rooftop during the raid on Onigashima, in his unconscious state, his heartbeat gained the qualities of what Zunisha claimed to be the drums of liberation, causing the ancient pachyderm, wow, not ancient elephant, but pachyderm, causing the ancient pachyderm to declare that Joy Boy had returned. Luffy soon regained consciousness with a wild grin as the awakening of his devil fruit activated. He then transformed into his Gear 5 form for the first time and challenged Kaido again. After Luffy won the match, as the Emperor plummeted through the crater he was punched into, Kaido recalled an earlier conversation he had with King where he said that Joy Boy would be the one to defeat him, implying that in his final moments, he recognized that Luffy was the same Joy Boy he'd waited for after all. So there's a lot connected to Joy Boy. Yet at the same time, we know nothing. You see everything that I just wrote out? That's the extent of the knowledge. And though it may seem like quite a bit that I just read through, that's still basically nothing. It's still basically nothing. So now we got this Iron Giant that refers to Joy Boy in name. First of all, this thing can talk. Can we just acknowledge that? This giant can speak of its own volition. That's the thing to take away from this. So let me see here. I don't know why I got chat up on my phone anymore when I have it right here. Oh, to answer your question, Q, the Sea Kings talked about Roger. Okay, it was about Roger. It's about Roger. So let me go back and see what you guys have said. I know the Sea Beast mentioned Roger, who had the voice of all things. Yeah, it was the Sea Kings. If they mentioned Joy Boy, I don't remember. Same old, how about yourself? I hear you. Same here, just homework and blah, blah, blah. Were you referring to when Roger could hear the Sea Kings? Yeah, that's what I was obviously referring to. Let me see here. Okay. Here come my theories. So out of all the chapters that we got, they were all phenomenal. We got to see this big teaser of Vegapunk revealing the truth of the world to the world, which has already prompted the Gorosei to enact, to take action, and then appear on Egghead to squash this. Now, you guys have made the theory. That what if, to make sure that this message could not be tampered with from Egghead, what if the message was actually being broadcast from a different place, like Punk Hazard, as like a old switcheroo? You may think that it's, even though it's being broadcast inside of this place, the message itself is actually triggered at a completely different location, and you're not going to be able to stop it in time before this information gets out to the world. I really like that theory, because it would be the perfect middle finger from Vegapunk towards the Gorosei, especially considering the first one was when he gave Bonnie complete control over Pacifistas, even over the Five Elders, simply because Vegapunk's a human being. So that's one thing. Then we have the Gorosei that can turn into all of these different demons. These same individuals, these celestial, because they're still celestial dragons. They are the highest of celestial dragons. No one challenges them. No one talks back to them unless you're a Kainu who has a death wish. But these are the highest forms of celestial dragons in the entire series. shown to be gods. Shown to be gods to the people in the world. People refer to the celestial dragons as gods who can do whatever they want. Yet at the same time, it is so ironic that these gods are actually demons. Japanese demons. A Mongolian death worm, like basically a mythological death worm. And then you have one that's basically a Chinese demon. All these different demons from different nations and different countries. And they're all these things with the distinct purpose of shutting everything down on Egghead so this information doesn't get broadcast all over the world. You got Ethan Barron, who's out there slicing through pacifistas so they can stop firing on the ships. You got Mars flying over trying to find the control room so they can shut it down so that the message doesn't get out to the world. And then you have Jupiter and Mercury and Saturn standing in front of where Luffy and company were before they all started to run away and they started to regenerate from the massive mushroom cloud nuclear explosion that happened. And everyone's trying to get away now. So not only did we get that, but now we also have the whole matter of the Iron Giant finally moving. How long were we waiting for this thing to move? We saw it. We saw it get triggered and start to light up as the heartbeat of the drums of liberation started to resonate with it and its eyes lit up. But then for a long period of time, we didn't see it again. And now we have this thing that is active. It's active. It is completely active. And now it's moving, saying, sorry, Joy Boy. Yet another thing that's apologizing to Joy Boy. So now the question is, with this same giant that almost destroyed Sacred Marijois 200 years ago, now that it's moving, the very same thing that Vegapunk said that we haven't been able to replicate its power source to get it moving again, apparently the power source never gave out. It never gave out. So now we got an Iron Giant that's moving, that is affiliated with Joy Boy. So now the question is, are we going to see this Iron Giant do some work? Is it going to take on the Gorosei? What is it going to do? What can it do? We don't. Here's the thing. We saw it turn on in chapter 1092 and again in 1106. And we didn't see it move after all that time until right now. Now, the thing that gets me is that Vegapunk has already revealed that this robot was made 900 years ago. That's how advanced the tech was back then. So advanced that pretty much, and I've made this statement many times over my past reflections, is that the technology that the world of One Piece has right now, a lot of the more scientific and a lot of more advanced technologies, the futuristic tech, that is reverse engineered from stuff from 9 centuries ago. Which makes you wonder just how advanced this ancient kingdom was for this whole kingdom to be wiped off the map, wiped out of the historical records. Literal mention of it is punishable by death, and yet Vegapunk was able to reverse engineer it and turn it into the most advanced stuff that the world has to offer today. Video cameras, robotic weapons, literally everything that he's reverse engineered on Punk, not on Punk Hazard, but, well, yeah, Punk Hazard and every other place he's been to, has been reverse engineered from 900-year-old tech, and yet the people of today refer to the things that Vegapunk has made as being 500 years ahead of where the world is now. How do you math that? Stuff that is 900 years old is considered 500 years in advance of what is current. See, I say that sentence in my head, and I'm like, how do you have something that is 900 years old, 9 centuries year old, and it's still 500 years ahead of where the present day is 900 years later? It cuts back to what Jay Garcia said when Vegapunk was saying, like, please don't destroy Punk Hazard. Look, you're destroying hundreds of years of progress. And Jay Garcia distinctly said, we don't need progress. So what? And I'm making a wild theory here, but I'm only going based off of the information of what we know, and I'm just making some sort of slightly connected theories here. What if what the ancient kingdom did in the past was very capable of advancing past where we see everything right now? Because in the time of Naruto, before we get to the whole Boruto stage where regular ninja villages started to incorporate actual skyscrapers and real technologically advanced stuff in the future, what if this ancient kingdom, what if this ancient kingdom was capable of advancing humanity past where it is right now? Past the point of just needing a boat to travel. People live in like these rural old houses, and it doesn't seem like too much technological advancements has gone on that far in life. What if the ancient kingdom was capable of progressing past that point, but they were destroyed? And that is the reason why the current world stage, like the time period, the technology of what we have in One Piece right now, still seems like it's stagnant, set in the age where boats are the most effective way to get around. People flying around is not an option unless you're part of the economic journal. And that's the reason why Jay Garcia said the world doesn't need progress. What if the ancient kingdom itself was the epitome of progress, and those that went up against them, which would later become the world government, said that the world doesn't need progress. The world doesn't need this. That would explain why everything Vegapunk has made is so technologically advanced from a period of 900 years ago. Yet it begs the question, why hasn't this stuff been mainstream? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If Vegapunk is capable of making all this stuff and his dream is for the world to have access to all of this knowledge, then the world could progress. But Jay Garcia says the world doesn't need any more progress. So what if that ancient kingdom was so advanced that it could go beyond what the world government, the 20 kingdoms at the time, were willing to put up with and see into the future, and just wanted to keep the world where it was? No one's advanced. Everyone's under thumb. No one has that sort of capabilities or technology at their disposal. It just belongs to the world government and people affiliated with them. I'm just saying. It wouldn't be surprising if this world was so advanced, if this kingdom was so advanced that they had to be stamped out, so that the only progress was made was dictated by the world government itself. I know it's a weird theory. I know it's a weird theory, but it would seems like something the world government would do. I'm just saying. You think that flying boat has some connections, the one Eneru was messing with? We don't fully know. We don't fully know. One thing we do know is that it's powered by electricity, and since Eneru was basically a living lightning bolt, it's capable of moving that way. But we don't even know the fullest history of the Skypian people or anyone else that's been up there. So we don't know the full extent. I like to picture the world government as a great cataclysm of the One Piece world. Ooh, that's a good way to put it. The world government is the great cataclysm of the One Piece world. They really are. They really are. Because the great cataclysm wiped the technology of smartphones and stuff. Yeah, the original great cataclysm. The world government was the great cataclysm of the ancient kingdom, and thus left the world in a state where they did not advance. Anything technologically advanced was only at disposal of the world government and those affiliated with them. Technological advancements was overseen by Vegapunk, who was under their thumb, but to no one else. Looking up information about this period of time that's been wiped from history is punishable by death, because we can't have anyone discovering new ways to progress if we learn the true history of the world, can we? We can't give way to progress in a world where if things stay the same, we remain in power, can we? I'm just saying. This just seems like something the Gorosei would do, and the world government as a whole would do. Keep the status quo. Keep the other celestial dragons underneath us fat and fed, and give them the ability to do whatever they want, because that's the world we will create. You go up against them, you go up against us, and you die. You find out information about the Void Century, you die. You attempt to wage war with us, you die. You try to awaken the Hito Hito no Mi Model Nika, a power we've been trying to get our hands on for 800 years. We would rather interfere with a fight with Kaido than allow that fruit to see fruition. We would rather it go back into circulation so we can go out and find it so we can have that power for ourselves. Because we can't have anyone be free. The idea of freedom is so poisonous to the Gorosei. They literally did not want a fruit that was the living embodiment of freedom to be in any other hands but their own. And if they can take away freedom, they take away hope. They take away prosperity. They take away peace and just keep the status quo the way it is. The people who are strong and serve us, they remain in power. The people who don't still will serve us. And that's it. If they don't like it, they can die. They are mere insects. That is all that these people are. We can't have people wanting to liberate slaves or save people's lives or want to be like Nika, where they want to be the hero of liberation. We can't have that. That idea is, that's why, and I said all that to say this, the very idea that the Gorosei are so scared that the history of the world will be revealed. Because my thing is, they consider anyone who finds out information about the Void Century forfeit. Their lives are forfeit. But you can't kill every single person in the world if they learn this information. Because now, if the information of what Vegapunk's about to say gets out there, and it is that big tell-all, big-all secret that we hope it is, you cannot be so thorough as to only eliminate the people who've seen this, because you don't know how many screams have been heard. You don't know how many Den Mushis are out in the world. You would literally have to raise the entire planet to the ground and then do it again to be precise in making sure that all the people you want stamped out of knowing this knowledge is dead. That's simply impossible. You wouldn't be able to do it. So the fact that this is so dire for the Gorosei right now just shows you just how much of a threat to their position it is. And it's an even bigger threat to them than the revolutionaries when you think about it. The revolutionaries are the only people in the world who are willing to go toe-to-toe and fight with the world government at every single turn. I applaud them for that. I'm grateful we have the revolutionary armies, but it's this information about the true history of the world that threatens their position from a space where they can't fabricate it, they can't cover it up, because everyone's gonna know. If Vegapunk mentions the Void Century, people are gonna wonder, what's the Void Century? Talks will go throughout towns. What's gonna happen? You're gonna start saying that this country didn't exist at all, Dressrosa didn't exist at all, this village in the North Blue didn't exist at all, Water 7 didn't exist at all, Whole Cake Island didn't exist at all these different locations. There's just so much weighing, and there's so much weighing on this one moment that is such a threat to the Gorosei that it could fundamentally change their position in the world in an instant. And that is why they are there. They don't want this information going out. And mind you, this is being broadcast to their very own naval soldiers as well. They can't turn it off. You can't be turned off. It's going to be broadcast to the world. A signal so strong that no one can even turn off their own Den Mushis to keep that information from getting out. It's being broadcast in the Gorosei's room of power. It's being broadcast all over the world, and they have absolutely no way to stop it. They're trying to figure that out, but they don't know how. They don't know what room is being broadcast from. They don't know how it is still playing. They're trying to buster call the entire island to the ground, which has pretty much been interrupted as it stands right now. The buster call is pretty much stopped because all of those marine ships that were being used to bombard the entire place have pretty much been destroyed at this point because of the pacifista sea beast weapons and the giants showing up. So now the Gorosei are left with just trying to desperately find that control room, but we don't even know if that control room is even on Egghead. That's the reason why I love that theory. I don't know who came up with that theory, but I love it. I love it. That is so well thought out. What what if it's being broadcast from a completely different island, nowhere near Egghead? And since the signal's being broadcast through all of the Den Mushis, you can't communicate to anyone because the signal is being boosted because of the outgoing message. You can't communicate to people with Den Mushis. Think it was Ozzy? I think it was Ozzy. Yeah, it was Ozzy. I wish he was here. I would want to thank him again. The next time I see him, I'm going to thank him. But I love that theory. Really. Imagine the utter horror that would appear on the Gorosei's faces if they get to the control room and it's not where the message is actually being broadcast from. That would be like, and I want to add something to that theory. By all means, go ahead. I'm gonna keep talking. That would be like inviting a girl to prom. She says she can't go with you. So you find someone who's been wanting to go with you, but decided to keep their distance because of the girl you asked out, and you decide to go with them. And then you go to the prom, and the same girl that says she couldn't go with you is there wondering why you didn't take her. That is one of those sinking heart feelings. So imagine that they get there and all they get is like either like an empty room, or it's not the room where it is, and it's just the utter horror of like, we have the wrong room. Oh no, what would be better is a better comparison is when Batman goes to say Rachel in The Dark Knight, and he tries to go to the location that Joker told her, but it turns out that it's actually Harvey in that room and not Rachel. I'm gonna admit I got that I got that chilling feeling, that sinking feeling of all like, oh no, he went to the wrong room. What if the Gorosei used that portal to head to Punk Hazard to stop it, knowing it's over there? We don't know the fullest extent of where. Well, actually, you know what? Can't really say we don't know how far a distance they can travel when they're capable of traveling from the Red Line all the way over to Egghead. But who's to say they even been to Punk Hazard? And Punk Hazard is pretty much covered in snow, so trying to find the exact room where everything is still going to take a minute. It's still going to take a minute, so we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Now, that is an option. We don't know how long it takes for a portal to be used in order to teleport to a place. We don't know its limitations. All we know is that go to actually, you know what? Something's coming in mind that may be a little bit against that theory, just a little bit. So I was about to say, well, we could have them. It might work because they can do long distance, but then again, they were summoned from long distance. There's no way to say that you can use a portal just to get there on your own. Versus, you need a proxy. Why else would they require Jay Garcia to summon them if they were capable of crossing that distance on their own? Now, the reason why Jay Garcia was able to warp from his ship all the way over to Egghead is because he was close to it. That's my theory. So, but if you're trying to cross a large distance, you need someone to summon you. Because think about it. Mars, he's a bird. He may blitz there. Look, he's fast, but I don't think he's like Egghead. I don't think he's like Kizaru fast, where he's going to be able to get there in like a couple of minutes, and then he's right there. He's a bird. He's a giant bird, but there's no guarantee that he's a fast giant bird. We just saw him fly up to the Frontier Dome. And I mean, if Kaku is capable of flying up there using Skywalk just normal, and Mars was capable of getting up there himself, I don't know. Maybe him trying to fly over there may be a bit of a stretch. But it goes back to my theory, like, maybe for the portals thing, maybe you need someone to be the one to summon you in order for it to work long distance. Like the same way Goku uses a focal point in order for him to instant transmission to an individual. The same way Jay Garcia may be the focal point for him to summon the Gorosei to himself. Something like that. But we don't know. We don't know. I'm just making theories here. But, wow, I've been going on for a hot minute. But all I can say is that things are not... Here's the thing. People have said people have said that the timers are overdone in this series, and I don't get with that. I can't get with that because it'd be something if Oda was doing it all the time, but he doesn't. It's only when it's crucial moments, and there hasn't been enough crucial moments with timers in them for them to feel overdone. Now the thing is, the clock is ticking. All right, the clock is ticking. A lot of things are happening. We're down to 7 minutes. And the clock is ticking for the Gorosei. It's not the clock is ticking for the Straw Hats to get gone, for them to escape. The clock is ticking before one of the potentially biggest secrets in the history of the entire One Piece series is revealed, and the Gorosei won't be able to do anything about it. This isn't a clock. This isn't a countdown to destruction for our main characters. It's a countdown to the biggest info drop for One Piece that will work against the Gorosei, and they have currently no way to stop it. It's funny, when Egghead first started and we heard about the Buster Call for the first time of this arc, I thought Vegapunk would explode Egghead to kill Saturn. Here's my thing. Hold on. Hmm. Hold on. And this is from March 15th. Hold on, let me check this one thing. Let's see. Uh, as revealed in 105. Wait, do I have 105? No. This is information revealed in Volume 105's SBS. A bunch of samurai left the isolated Wano country and set sail on the seas. There were 25 people on board, including Shimotsuki Kozaburo and Furiko. Furiko is the sister of the former daimyo of Ringo, Shimotsuki Ushimaru. One Piece fans may remember him as one of the samurai Yamato met when Kaido locked her up. He's the one who described himself as so-and-so. Meanwhile, Furiko eventually married a village swordsman and gave birth to Roronoa Arashi, Zoro's father. Interesting. Unfortunately, both of Zoro's parents have already gone to the great beyond. Arashi lost his life in a battle with pirates, while his mother succumbed to illness. So this is new information. I didn't know this because I didn't read the 105's SBS. I didn't know that. Think about the fact Zoro has conquerors and that he inherited, so what pirate could kill a Wano swordsman with conqueror's haki? None, because Wano samurai are on a whole different level from your average pirate. Even some strong pirates. I mean, you got Kinemon with Firefox style that allows him to literally cut flame. And now it's got to a point where killing Saturn or any of the Gorosei is out of the question, but now where's the location of the message will be broadcast? It may be possible, what's that dude with the comb on his cheek? Because you remember Law sliced him. Oh, Virgo. Law sliced him and he is part of the government. The Gorosei may tap in his mind and able to teleport. Virgo's dead. The entire facility where Virgo was and where Monet was went up in smoke because Monet blew up that entire facility. So Virgo and Monet are dead. They're dead. It's not going to be like, oh, they just tap into Virgo's mind. He got sliced apart, but he also went up with that entire lab when Monet blew it up. So Virgo's dead. Yeah, he is confirmed deceased. So that's out of the question. Yeah, that's out of the question. If I go down to the Punk Hazard arc, let's see. He apologized. Let's see. Law cut Virgo into several smaller pieces and attached him to the guardrail. Later, Doflamingo contacted Virgo to inform him that he had instructed Monet to activate a secret destructive gas, which would kill everyone around the lab except Caesar, Virgo included. He apologized to Virgo for having to do this and thanked him for all the work he had done, and Virgo simply smiled. The SAD production room then exploded, the same room that Virgo was attached in pieces to, and Doflamingo, upon arriving at Punk Hazard later, stated that Virgo had died. So Virgo's pretty much dead. It's been a minute. I've seen it. Yeah, Punk Hazard has been a long time. But now we're in a very interesting situation. We're seeing the Gorosei and their abilities. We still don't know the fullest extent of the abilities of Mars and Jupiter, who are the Itsumade and the giant sandworm. I mean, outside of their regular animal tendencies, we still don't know what the supernatural aspect of them are. Because every potential mythological Zoan type has a supernatural ability that goes beyond the norm, and we haven't seen that yet. Jay Garcia, Invisible Force. Bakotsu, we have Ethan Baron, capable of using the chill of the underworld because he's basically a death horse. And then, of course, we have Warcury, who's capable of shifting his tusks into literal blades and letting out a Conqueror's Haki roar that can basically be felt across the entire island. It's the other two members that we don't have any real supernatural abilities linked to, outside of just one being able to fly and another one being able to tunnel underground. But that's just the animal aspects of them. Really hope we find out more about what their actual capabilities are when we come out of this 3-week break. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, I've covered everything that I wanted to say, and I feel like I really haven't stopped talking for a whole hour and 47 minutes. Apologies for the little hiccup there at the middle where my OBS kind of went out, but overall, I think I covered everything that I wanted to say for the month of March as far as One Piece is concerned. We move into April tomorrow, which also starts my Cowboy Bebop reaction series because I want to be able to... 2 more weeks? Yeah, I think it's 2 more weeks. Which also starts my Cowboy Bebop reaction, where I start doing reactions to the Cowboy Bebop series for the first time. Like, I remember vaguely seeing it when I was a kid, but I never got into it. I just remembered the theme song, and that was it. So I don't remember anything about the series at all, so I can't wait to do that video for all of you. I'll explain more how I'm going to do those videos. It probably won't be an everyday thing. It'll probably be like every other day or every 2 days, just so I can pace myself, because I still have Dragon's Dogma to go through, and then I haven't even installed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And plus, there's other things happening in April that I really want to get into. No, you way behind? Yeah, I know. I've never seen Cowboy Bebop all the way through. All I remember is the theme song, and for the most part, the ending theme of the Real Folk Blues. That's it. But yeah, I can't wait to get started on reacting to Cowboy Bebop. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. I've had a wonderful time talking to all of you. Then it'll be 11/12, then it's Golden Week, so the Shonen Jump magazine will be on break as well. Yeah, we'll get a chapter, and then we'll go right on break again, which doesn't surprise me. While we're on this break, I'm glad Oda, for what counts for rest for him, can hopefully get a little bit of time to himself so he can just relax a little before he picks up with more fire chapters of One Piece. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor, and if you watch Cowboy, please do Wolf Reigns after. I gotta see. Because if I'm always trying to do, I always try to do things in a way where I can do it at my own pace and I'm not stretching myself too thin. So I'll see how I feel after Cowboy Bebop. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege to be your entertainer as we discuss all things One Piece. All I can say to you is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, even subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!